So first we start with a prayer. 좀 nen데 바로 공부지 진짜배야나 차서로 관계를 리미팅이 담다. 신이 등의 지진 이거도 관련해서 거다서 배서라 말하면 된다. 도서구나 부지들서 연화도 중요한데서 루더시로 념문이런데. 머리무새도 그런 경우 증이 조세를 되는 되내서 서주들도 연되는 속에서 주라주라 중요는 다른 모습 잠버리 연화도 엄마라부터 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 Arapazanadi, Marapazanadi, Marapazanadi, Marapanadi, Marapazanadi, 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 Marapanadi, Marapazanadi, 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 Marapanadi, Marapazanadi, Kurgum the Deji. Ubetana, Sherabratinum, Debazimage, Kumbojamayan. Because the top of the bomb choose it over the name, Kumbojamedi, came a pariantum, where she Sidenji Kerabuzi, Dalotimum Parasone, Cotton Juju, Lodu Popena was Sadusu, Sidenji Kerabuzi, Dalotimum Parasone, Cotton Juju, Lodu Popena was Sardus. So tonight, every Thursday we do sitting practice or meditation, and we will do a sitting practice. But before we do a sitting meditation practice, I think perhaps it's important to go a little back, which means why we're doing sitting practice or meditation. What is the reason, what's the meaning behind doing sitting practice meditation? Well, in one way we can say the reason we are doing sitting practice or meditation is that we can find a way how to solve our challenges that we face every day, day to day in our life, with life situation. And that means understanding the mind, because every challenge we face finally comes down to the experience of mind. It's the mind which experiences everything. So it cannot go on physical level. It has to do on a mental level. Yes, physically we can have pain, but who experiences that physical pain is the mind. So basically, out of the three doors, which is called the body, speech, and mind, mind is the most important. So the entire practice of meditation is connected with the mind, not really. It's not, a corpse cannot do meditation, for example. A dead person cannot do meditation. It requires a living person, a living consciousness to relate to our experience. Only mind can relate to that. So therefore, understanding mind is so important. As long as we feel confusion within our mind, so long as the suffering and challenges will not stop to exist, it will keep going on and on. Therefore, there's a lot of emphasis of understanding the mind in the Buddhist teaching. What is mind? How the mind begins? In fact, where is mind? How is the mind? So forth and so on. A lot of details about those things. So we are not going to go through today where is mind and this and that, but at least we understand that mind is the process that we all go through. Our belief, our emotion, our feeling, our compassion, as well as non-compassion, how we feel, how we are habituated, everything finally comes really to the mind. Whether we are compassionate or not compassionate, it also comes down to the mind. So it has become very, very important to know what is mind without realizing how the mind functions. It would be almost impossible to deal with reality. Because reality, I think, when we talk about reality, it's a very interesting subject. When we talk about reality, we're all trying to find out reality. Whatever our beliefs are, but we are at least trying to find out. Whether one believes in eternalism or nihilism or middle path or atheism or whatever, we're all trying to find out what is reality. I think, therefore, reality becomes very important. In order to try to discover reality, you need an open mind. If you have a predetermined mind, preconceived mind, you cannot really discover reality because you already have made up your mind. That's what we call preconceived mind. Any type of preconceived mind is already made up. So your door is shut. Your door is closed for seeing other things. Now then, the question is, how do we learn to see reality? Question is, how do we find reality? And there are so many ways to understand reality. It's not just like black and white. It's not like, for example, Buddhism is a non-theistic tradition versus theistic tradition of Hinduism, Judaism, Christianity. And we can't say, oh, one is better and one is bad. We can't say that. Because when you approach a spiritual practice, you need to approach with holistic view. You see, like some people like this food, some people like that food, and they're all good, they're all beneficial to different sets of body and different sets of mind. Same thing to certain people, as is Dalai Lama, he says, one of his great missions is to bring religious harmony. And there is a good reason to have religious harmony because all the religion has benefited beings. So therefore, they are all to be respected. Of course, there are certain things which are, a lot of discrimination and this and that there's always some problems there, here and there. But generally, I think if you look at generally, like the Ten Commandments, for example, the Ten Commandments, which is taught in Judeo-Christian tradition, I'm not very, I just know whether that may be in Judaism, I don't know. In Christianity, I think definitely Ten Commandments. I've seen the movie called Ten Commandments one time in New Delhi. I remember it was a very hot day and I went to watch, Ten Commandments. So Ten Commandments taught in Buddhism, taught in Christianity, and Ten Commandments taught in Buddhism, like similar, we call 10 negative deeds, are very similar actually. Very, very similar. Like not killing, not lying, not stealing, and no slander, and all those things are very similar. So from that level, you see, those teaching, which is talking about these kind of activity that we have to deal day to day, like supposing you come in a bag of gold. You're walking on the street and there's a bag of gold. And you just look, if there's no one, you just get up and steal and run away. That's, it's not good to do whether in the Buddhist teaching or whether in the Christian teaching or Judaism or Hinduism. They all say it's not good to do that. Try to find out who it belongs to. And, so in that way, in Buddhism it's called karma. The word karma, is not in Christianity and Judaism or in Hinduism. Hinduism, yes, karma. So it's different words, but basically on that conventional level, it's very similar. So therefore, all these actions by these 10 positive deeds and abandoning 10 negative deeds have brought benefit to humanity, such as be kind to animal. It has brought happiness to animal. So you see, we can't say just like straight away, this is black and this is white. So there is common thing. I mean, we all eat the same. Just because someone is Christian, they don't put their spoon here through their eyes, and someone Buddhist through their nose. We all eat in the same mouth here, no matter what level we have. You see, so we have to be realistic. We have to be, I think sometimes we get so caught up, my religion, your religion, and then wars are fought. And to the point, within Christianity, war is fought between Protestants and Catholic. And within Buddhism also, the Mongols fought war in Tibet, different schools. And then I'm sure in Hinduism. And then, of course, in Islam, you see Shias and the Sunnis, and they've been fighting war until today. A lot of this problem of too much my side is a problem. And you can't really see reality. You cannot be, the talk about holistic approach is totally out of question. There's no holistic approach. You have a dead mind, predetermined dead mind. That's the way or no way, so to speak. So that is not good for the world. That's not good to live as humanity. We have to live peacefully. How do you practice compassion? How do you practice patience and tolerance to each other? When you're confronted with an adverse situation, something perhaps you may not agree or you may not like, but you still have to be open-minded and approach that. So that's one level. Then on a deeper level, once you have an open mind, then it leads you to see further deeper. For example, in Buddhism, there is no creator. Buddha is not considered the creator in Buddhism. In fact, Buddhism doesn't believe in a creator. So there's a big difference between Judeo-Christianity and Hinduism and Buddhism. Buddhism is perhaps the only religion, and Jainism in Hindu, though there is difference, they also don't believe in creator. The rest of the world believes, from the ancient time of shamanism, I think the oldest religion to ever exist in the universe is shamanism. Believe in sun, moon, waters, trees, everything. That's the easiest way of relating to that. But Buddhism doesn't believe in a creator because it doesn't fit with the Buddhist logic of reality. So it's, and Buddhism don't take the word of what Buddha said just like that. Buddha said, I've checked my word like you will test the gold. If it makes sense, take it. If it doesn't make sense, leave it. Buddha never said, my word, you have to take it as a given word. That is not in Buddhism at all. In fact, he said, analyze and check. If it makes sense, then take it. If not, you are given the sort of permission or right to explore in your mind, to question in your mind, to debate that, to find out what's reality. Because only the whole point is, actually the whole point is one point. Just to remove the ignorance. There's no other point in all this question. I think ignorance is a big problem in our life. Whether it's a blind faith, and we can have, so many different ways how ignorance can come into our life. Ignorance in social life, ignorance in political life, ignorance in environmental situation, ignorance in so many ways. And then when we really look into how our mind pattern is set upon in making decision of day-to-day life, very much it depends on how we structure our mind, how we are habituated, or how we have this idea about things based on ignorance. So until you really understand what is ignorant and how does the ignorance begin in your mind, life always will be a challenge, always be an uncertainty. You never know what's going to happen. You just wish for the best. You pray for salvation, but it's a prayer, it's a hope. You don't have certainty. Do you have certainty? Yes, you will say, yes, I have certainty. If you ask like 100 times, you have certainty. 99 point when you reach, I'm not sure. That's where you will reach. That's ignorant. That doesn't help. That's the danger of the ignorant. So then, therefore, now we need to discover what is ignorant. Until you don't see the ignorant, you're not going to find reality. In order to see reality, you need open mind. You need the mind to question. You need the mind to analyze. You need the mind to reflect. And as long as you don't do that, you're just following a blind faith. And that doesn't work with our life problem. The problem is not God. The problem is not Buddha. The problem is us. They don't have problem, If it's your problem. You need to solve your problem. So you can only solve your problem if you see what obscure your mind and how you can relate to that and finding reality. Then you see a way out. You find a liberation. You find a way out. As long as you don't see that, you're just living enough trust, hope. Hopefully it is best. Because my father told me. Who you told your father? My grandfather told me. Who told your my great-great-father? That's your biggest sort of diploma to show that your view is right. You don't have more than that. So now you need to see, the basic structure, how our mind have made all this decision, and what take us to the ignorant level, and how we can remove that and see reality. On that level, in Buddhism, it says there is no creator. Way things work is based on dependent origination. Whoever do not see dependent origination, the mind is destined to get trapped in eternalism or destined to get trapped in nihilism. And you need to reflect on that and check, how is that so? For example, our day-to-day life function. We feel there is something, identity, which is so inherent, which is so permanent, whether it's good or bad. And we don't really check into that. We just follow the waves, sort of the wind, however it comes, and we take that identity very seriously. But do we ever check that one who is holding that identity, whether personally on an emotional level, personality level, what you think of yourself, your emotional level, whatever the identity you hold, does it have what kind of reality? Is this something happen with cause or without cause? If it does happen with a cause, then does the cause can only function with singular aspect or multiple aspect? Singular aspect means, for example, if you throw a seed of a rose flower, it's not going to pop up a rose flower right away. That's a singular aspect. But then it is multiple secondary aspect, which is heat, humidity, warmth, care, and so many aspects of that. So when the singular aspect, the seed, and this secondary aspect, which is the nurturing of the heat and humidity and plant, and then when all of those things comes together, then finally you see a beautiful rose. But that rose, another thing, that's multiple aspect shows it's not permanent, because therefore it's become multiple. You see, it's logical, it's common sense. We've lost common sense. That's another big problem. We think it's not multiple aspect, it's one inherent unit, independent unit. So therefore we lost the touch with dependent, interdependent view. Then at the same time, the problem with that, in our day-to-day life experience, it's very hard for us to forgive someone. If you think it's interdependent, then you're not going to blame the whole thing on others. At least you will take partial responsibility on yourself too. But when you think this is an independent, it's all wrong, it's done by my partner, by the other person, so-called enemy, then you completely missing your own afflictive emotion. And so there's a problem in not seeing dependent, and not seeing dependent, you don't see impermanence, instead you see permanent. So the moment you see something permanent, very hard to forgive someone. Now in reality, is that how things function? It doesn't function that way. Even you may be ignorant about dependent, interdependent. But as we say, yes, you are going through a lot of pain right now. By the time will heal, we say. But so at the same time, we kind of deep inside know that time will heal means it is not permanent to begin with. If it's permanent, it cannot heal. Permanent means independent, means no factor, is not dependent on any factor. That's called permanent, that's called independent. If anything is dependent, that's been impermanence, and it's called condition. So no conditioned phenomena can give a birth to an unconditioned state, including the state of our identity that we hold in whatever environment of our life situation is, including spiritual situation. So therefore, in Buddhism, it talks about two kinds of ignorance. One is the ignorant of not knowing cause and effect. So when you don't know the cause and effect, then there's a lot of, I think, misunderstanding. Some are historical blunders, misunderstanding. Some are just simply misunderstanding. Buddhism also talks about hell. It does talk about hell. In fact, there are 18 kinds of hell. 8 cold hell and 8 hot hell. And then there's additional 2 bonus hell. Which is called Nyalwan Narmet, the Tibetan word is like inconceivable hell. It's called so, but there's one good news with the Buddhist hell. The good news is it's impermanent. So you will be there for 1,000,000 years, but after 1,000,000 years you will come out. because it's impermanent. Now, why the hell is impermanent in Buddhism? And because the cause to the hell, what is the cause to the hell? It's our afflictive emotion, ignorance and afflictive emotion. There's no other cause than that. Your aggression, your intense attachment, jealousy, hatred, these are the cause to hell. There's no other cause to hell beside that. So, when you look at the emotion of anger, for example, it's said of all the emotion, the most destructive emotion is the anger. There's nothing more destructive than emotion like anger, and there's the greatest positive emotion is patient. There's nothing greater than a patient, and there's nothing more destructive than anger. Because when you have anger, it destroys your peace, calmness totally, and destroy the peace and harmony of other people as well as yourself. Not only that, furthermore, then how much negative karma, negative pattern it can bring forth in your life. To the point ultimately is said to lead you to the hell realm. When that emotion reaches crescendo, that is called hell. There's no other hell beside. Everything is mind, again here. Now, so therefore, the cause, now let's do a little bit study to the cause of that which goes to hell, which is anger, let's say. So we think that anger is one independent unit, permanent, eternal, something very real. But anger did not come by independent. First of all, when you get angry to someone you know, you didn't have that when you were born. You didn't have that anger when you were a little baby, you were born with that anger to a particular person. It never happened that way. Only at certain point in your life when you begin to grow and then certain things lead to one thing, including someone, your friend. You have disagreement can lead to some problem and then anger arises. So it requires subjective, object, and multiple factors, then the emotion of anger arises. It's a dependent, it's an interdependent. It's not independent. There's no independent anger. There's a dependent anger. We're not saying there's no anger. There is an anger, but it's a dependent anger. Dependent means devoid of independent. Dependent means devoid of independent. If it's independent, anger can never resolve. We can never forgive someone. We can never come out of anger if there is an inherent independent anger. Anger comes due to many factors. So does all emotion. Out of the 4 pillars of Buddhism teaching, all conditioned phenomena is impermanence. All afflictive emotion is downfall. Nirvana is peace. So therefore, you see the cause to the hell is conditioned, impermanent. The result cannot be unconditioned. So there's no eternal hell in Buddhism. That's the good news in Buddhism. There's no, because it never makes sense. Here again, trying to discover the reality. If anger is independent, then the pain it creates in our mind when we go through anger, then it can, if there is such thing as eternal, then that pain will never go away. The fact that the time comes, maybe you are angry for an hour, after sometimes, due to some other factors, someone says sorry to you, or someone, you feel, then anger goes away. Because anger is not independent. Because it's not permanent. It's not eternal. Therefore, the notion of eternalism is become eternalism has no business in the realm of interdependent, if I use that language. Nihilism also have no business in the realm of interdependent, because they are Doesn't make any logic. There's no logic to that. It doesn't say that anger. There's no, there is emotion. All emotions are dependent emotion. So anything produced by a dependent emotion is conventional truth, is relative. We call relative, conventional. And is there truth in that? There is truth in that. If we say that there is no truth at all, that will be completely going against the law of physics, the law of nature. Law of nature and law of physics is very important in the Buddhist teaching because it has to connect with the reality. If it doesn't connect with the reality, you can never solve your problem. So therefore, when you see the dependent origination, then it creates temporarily also, to go with the notion of something so permanent and independent. It's a wrong view. We see that. That's not true. All emotion, all thoughts, all phenomena is interdependent. That's reality. That's not Buddha's ideology. Buddhism is not based on faith. Buddhism is based on reality. It's extremely, therefore Buddha said, I've shown you the way of liberation, now it's up to you. Further he said, check it out, my teaching, don't take because I said so. Because if you take said so, your mind is closed. You need to question that no matter what it is. That's the way you're going to find out that reality, again, we're real. Two kinds of reality we begin to see in life. One is conventional reality, and one is the unconventional reality, which goes deeper in our, we can say, spirit, or deeper in our awareness, deep mind, like samadhi, meditation awareness. When we go to day-to-day life experience, conventional experience, relative experience, are all based on satisfaction of five sensorial happiness. It doesn't go beyond that. Something in the eyes, you want to see beauty. So we accept the beauty. Something you feel uncomfortable, you reject that. Something in the ears, the kind of music you like or you don't like. Kind of smell you like, you don't like. The taste you like, you don't like. The feeling you like. You invest basically all your heart, mind, and soul, so to speak, into that five sensorial happiness, actually. But we don't really look deeper than more. We don't go beyond than that. So if you are relying, the problem here is, if you're entirely relying your whole sort of, we may say, heart and mind and soul entirely on a conventional phenomenon, which is some beauty or some sound or some smell, some taste or some sensation, that is a big problem. It's not that you should not have what you aspire for. That's not a problem. But it cannot give you what you're asking for. Because you're seeking something permanent, independent, everlasting, and almost like heavenly experience, everlasting, that it cannot give. The poor condition doesn't have that to begin with, to what it can give you. The nature of condition means impermanent. Nature of condition means it's called relative, it's called conventional. It cannot produce that to begin with, so how can it give? It can only give you impermanence. It can give you change. It can give you things moving. And then constantly, when things begin to change in your life, whether it's relationship, whether it's what you think of your friends, family, how you like that person to be, when that person's mindset begin to change, or certain environment begin to change, then you get the biggest shock. Then you get angry. That's true. Again, another ignorance, relying on a condition as unconditioned. Condition can never give unconditioned. Condition can only give condition, means temporarily. So now, is that our salvation? Is that our liberation? Is that the kind of, what is your notion of, I think for a Christian, a really good question is, what is the meaning of heaven then? Or seeing my grandfather there, they're all living there, having a big party? What does really mean liberation? What it really means heaven? Question is. Again, we are trusting a conditioned phenomena, taking this baggage and putting the whole baggage in heaven? Or is it something which, when you talk heaven, does it mean something deeper inside? The normal, what is said, like, in the Arab and Islamic teaching, because in Arab countries, they have so shortage of, water. There's more gasoline than water. So they always, Islam, they have those, the palm tree with a little oasis. That's the notion of heaven. Because that's the condition. You're taking it there. So a big oasis and some palm tree and a camel or some milk, honey and a date. You're projecting that. So it's really like, your own present condition, you're projecting that on your deeper awareness, consciousness, so to speak. So, according to Buddhist teaching, it describes conventional truth and absolute truth. Conventional truth, yes, it will only be temporarily. For example, we are human being right now. So we have to respect human physics, the law of human physics. If you try to put your finger in a fire, it will burn you. So you don't want to do that. Because your karma, then again there's gross and subtle karma. There's certain physics, physics is not absolute. I don't think physics is ever absolute. Physics is something based on what one person sees, one person doesn't see. Yes, there is a common physics. We all can burn our finger in a fire. That's a common human. But then some can burn more and some can burn less. But that's again not a question. I've seen in a National Geography a little bacteria in the lava. This is living organism, not dead, live. I think that's like a hell realm. And even if we compare that body to ourselves, we are so much taller, but that's like a tiny little bit doesn't die in that fire. Why? And why we as a human being so big and stronger, we just put it close to it, it can melt. So you see, but the one thing in common, any negativity, regardless whether that burns you to ashes or it doesn't burn you to ashes, it will give you pain and suffering. I think that's common in the law of physics. Anything you do with a negative intention, lack of compassion, can lead to suffering regardless whoever it is. Anything with a compassionate attitude, with patience, can always lead to a positive state. No matter where you're born as a human being or whatever, what kind of realm it is. So the conventional truth, in order to understand the conventional truth, positive conventional and negative conventional. Therefore, like 10 Commandments is the positive approach. Instead of killing, you try to save a life. Instead of lying, you try to be truthful. Same thing. This is all conventional truth, but it's not absolute, because you are only dealing with condition, which is temporal phenomena, but it can never lead to that absolute. But it's important. We cannot say, okay, now conventional is not important. Let's get to absolute. Just forget the whole thing. That's not possible. If you want to go to the roof of the house, you need the ladder. Ladder becomes extremely important, or the elevator becomes extremely important to get up there. But without that, you can't get up there. The purpose is the roof, it's not the ladder. But ladder becomes essentially important while you want to get to the roof. Same thing, we need conventional compassion. Charities, when we do, they're all conventional practice. Compassionate conventional practice. Those are very important for our well-being, health, environment, spiritual growth on a deeper level. Very, very important. Instead of aggression and hatred, patience and forgiveness is so much more powerful, because that gives you deep joy and happiness. The biggest, I heard, number of people who do good work, the biggest satisfaction is instead of giving. Supposing you go and do a shopping, like fill up your whole house one day, and then you try to go and give something which you find deeper, more happiness, satisfaction is in giving than, collecting a whole thing in your whole house. So it's part of our basic design, if I use the word, basic mind. Our mind has a basic goodness. We can imagine in our mind how wonderful it will be that every being is happy, a relief of their individual suffering. Entire humanity, entire being, not only human being, we can imagine that to dogs and creatures and animals. But can you imagine how wonderful it would be if everyone is dead and suffering and, pull their legs out and, they're rotting and they're, how good, we cannot imagine, right? Nobody. Maybe we don't like some people in our life. Maybe we think, oh, they don't deserve to be happy. But when you try to think of the general humanity, you cannot imagine like that. You can imagine how people should be happy, how they can be free, and what can I do? But we cannot imagine, let people suffer, every being suffer, and what can I do? Even when Hitler, he was like trying to protect the Aryan race. He may not like the Jewish race and other colors race, but he wanted to protect the Aryan race. So there's a seed of compassion. It's true. You cannot deny that also, it's the truth. So there's a basic goodness deep inside in all of us. So again, here's the reality. The reality here, compassion is so important in our life. If we follow the things based on our nature is deep inside basic goodness. If we follow the way of the compassion, that's what the way of the Bodhisattvas, then we bring happiness to ourselves. That's exactly what we want. We bring happiness to others. We cannot bring happiness to others and oneself by hatred and aggression and discrimination and disrespect and abuse. We cannot. In fact, you are the first victim whenever you try to do anything negative. Before you get to prison or whatever the law take place or whatever the other things about you, yourself, moment you start something negative, you are polluting, obscuring your own situation. And we don't want that. Deep inside, we all want happiness. So we need to look long way. We should not look short. I think a lot of times we just look at short term than the long term. Long term is very important in the short term. For instance, it says, those who are content with smaller happiness will never achieve big happiness. For example, since our mind is a lot of afflictive emotion. And such as anger and aggression, these are sometimes look spontaneous. In fact, I think it's the biggest alien of all time. It's not, our nature is basic goodness. But it seems so natural at this point, due to habit, this just simply habit, that we feel we don't have to learn how to get angry. We don't have to learn about, jealousy. We don't have to learn about this thing. It just comes right away in our mind. While when we think of patience, when we think of, it needs some effort for us to really work with that. How to reflect, how to do, how to sit back and ask someone. But we don't need to ask someone how to get angry. We don't need to ask someone, if someone punch you right away, it's instant feeling, I want to punch back. Really. Like when we get car, what is it called? Car rage. I've also done that. But I think it's really blessing of the teaching. After I did that, I began to reflect, oh, that's not right. So that's good. I'm able to, just like put a brake on myself. But our first instinct is instantly we feel rage. Someone punched me, we don't. And that's what makes us still here, confused, bewildered. That's the pathetic situation, really, in a way, that we are trapped. So I say, what makes the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Tara, the great lady, what makes them that Bodhisattva, and what makes us a sentient being? They presented the same situation. One, they have able to practice patience, while we were not. We go by instinct, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, whatever. While they, instead of eye for an eye, they forgive. That's how they become Bodhisattva. While we are still stuck here because we've been following the eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. Really, something like that. So it is good every day when we go to sleep. At night we should reflect on our mind and see how your whole action for the day, how it went through. How did you react to that situation? And learn, reflect on your mind. You can only learn about yourself if you are open, and sometimes may be painful, but that's the best way to be not escape from reality. To see yourself, if you have, which is the biggest weakness in your mind, which afflictive emotion, anger, jealousy, whatever, Then if you keep looking into it, slowly it will get more and less and less and less. At some point then it will be easy to deal with that, instead of which is very hard. And one other part, how to deal with this practice of meditation. In meditation is a technique that lets you learn without going after each thought, but it's a one method which works with all thoughts and emotion. So that's why we call sitting practice of meditation. It's a method. So now I don't want to talk about other things. Let's go to meditation. The only thing I want to say, please be compassionate. Understand cause and effect, relationship between your emotion and reality, how they begin to manifest, is due to positive and negative. That's very important. Positive comes from good heart. That means positive experience, your joy, happiness, including your livelihood. Everything comes from good heart. And your negative experience, everything comes from bad thoughts. Today I was driving. I went to this restaurant. And I saw two guys came out. And you see, when you ride there, they have the car park. I need to park. And they were talking to themselves. They were not in a hurry. They were not in something dire important thing. I can tell they were just like, casually, but such a big ego. I'm even waiting there for a long time. They didn't care. I was right there. And finally, when the other guy went to his car, this guy came to his car. He went in his car, and he didn't come out right away. He took like about 3-4 minutes sitting in his car. You see, this is how I feel, wow, this is how mind is. Of course, for me, the only inconvenience is just waiting. But himself in his own mind, how much suffering that guy is going through. You see, this is how dangerous it is. If you don't have a good heart, it's a sign that it leads to many things in his life. Many, many problems in his life, that kind of situation. It exemplifies what other things happening with his own life, in his own life, with his family, with his friends, or whatever, how difficult things can be like that. So, so I just watched that. I thought, interesting. And who is the victim, me or the him? For me, only a little bit inconvenience, time. But for him, what he's going through. And he was like taking his pride. What can you do? You can't call the police because, you can't say, I'm waiting, he's not moving the car, right? So it's like he's taking pride in his emotion state. That's the deeper part of what I saw. And that's not good. He's the victim. For us also, if we don't really work with our mind, we take this kind of negative attitude, it's very negative. We won't have any peace and happiness. It's directly linked to us. So cause and effect, interdependent. Talk about unconditioned mind, transcending those things is out of question. Even in a conventional world, you will not find happiness. So his son, as Dalai Lama says, he knows some billionaires, his friend, very rich people, but very unhappy people deep inside. So, just the material can't make you. You need much deeper. In fact, the material should be how you can channel that through for positive purpose, which can benefit you and everyone. But if that material is making you a slave, and it's making you aggressive, is making you proud and angry and difficult personality, it's really no good. Sometimes people suicide, they kill themselves. All because of not knowing how to have a good heart. Big problem. So learning to build good heart is extremely important. Always watching. And therefore, my teacher is Solenless, Dujum Rinpoche. He composed a prayer. In that prayer, he says, please bless me not to look at fault of others. Please bless me to look at my own fault. Only through looking at your own fault you will change. But if you start pointing out fingers at others, you will never change. In fact, you build this bad habit of blaming other people all the time. And no, you can never solve, But if you try to look at yourself, even it's a big problem, it can get very simple. And one of the reasons how it can work, because everyone has a basic goodness. Even if it's not your problem, it's somebody else's problem, you really go and say, it's okay, let's forget, I'm sorry. Then the other person, begin to, look at like hours and hours of someone's problem. One word can sometimes instantly change the emotion. That's how mind is like that. So we have to, why it's important to build up good heart and compassion, become extremely important for our own happiness, needless to say other people too. So now let's do meditation practice. Meditation practice is now again learning about how to deal with the mind. In meditation practice, you don't learn about how to think this way or that way. In fact, all thinking, What we have been doing until now, we have learned how to stir things up. Now we need to learn how to not to stir things up in meditation practice. All stirring up has created the problem. I mean, look at us, our whole life. Every day we stir each other. First of all, you stir with yourself. So therefore, in the practice called the confused relationship you have with your own mind projection. That's stirring with yourself. So now you need to make friends with your mind. Obviously, before you make friends with others, you need to learn how to make friends with yourself. If you don't know how to make friends with yourself, how can you make friends with others? It'll be only very short-lasting friendship. It cannot last for too long. So that's mean in meditation practice, the method is you just open your mind, not going after the thoughts of the past, no anticipating the future thoughts, no stirring up your present thoughts, learning how to relax in the mind without engaging to them, so to speak, but not suppressing them. This is the trick. If you try to suppress, it will never work. It will always revolt. If you try to go after them, we have the usual problem. We don't need to learn about meditation then. You just go, about your entertaining your thoughts of the past and future and all this thing. We know how to do that. That's no point. You don't want to, engage in you don't want to get trapped or distracted by the thoughts. No, you want to suppress the thought. And that takes time and practice. That takes time and practice to learn your mind. But that's the only way how you can learn your mind. Because whenever we try to stir things up of the past, present, future, then one thing leads to the next thing leads to the next. And it's like a beat, cycle, unending cycle, like without an exit. There's no exit in that. So it's like almost driving in Denver and trying to find an exit that you never find. Suddenly you will run out of the gas at the middle of the night, and then you're going to face a lot of problem. That's the situation we get in our life, like that, without exit, our life. So, in meditation, thoughts will arise. It's not that thought will not arise. Any kind of thought, what you ate today, what you did today, what you want to do tomorrow. But in meditation, when you're doing sitting practice meditation, you want to, when the thought arises, their Tibetan word is called namtok, or conceptual in English. Oh, concept arises. You think of yesterday you have some salad or burger. Oh, concept arise. Moment you see the concept arise, that there's a space, gap, it opens up because you're not clinging to that. You simply saw that, and it's like a wave. It comes and it dissolves by itself. You don't have to do anything. It comes like a wave. Thoughts are like a wave. All clouds come from the space and it dissolves in the space. There's no other place for the clouds to go. All thoughts come from the mind and it will dissolve in the mind. All waves come from the ocean, it will dissolve back into the ocean. There's no other place. So when you know how to let it be in the mind, nature, it will come and it will dissolve. The energy, in other words, the energy will, gradually release itself. What we are trying to do, stop the energy, capture the energy, and then it rises back. It's like fighting against the current. That's where all afflictive emotion arises. And we feel, as I said, when you feel that, if all beings are happy, you see, because you're not attached. When you see all beings are free, of course there's a sense of joy. Maybe you can see a little attachment there, if all beings are happy. So you feel happy deep inside, free. So you're not fighting against the current. But when you think all beings should suffer, then you are fighting against the current. Then you get disturbed. You see, so there's a difference with compassion. And here when we're learning how to work with the energy of the mind, is you're learning on a conventional level of the energy of the mind. And the unconventional, deeper level, it will naturally take you there. That's the whole point. You can't make unconditioned. It is unconditioned. It has to reach there by itself. So therefore, when you sit, all thoughts, you don't make preference to thought. Oh, this is spiritual thought, compassion I should have. Or I have this thought about someone I don't like, this is bad. Moment you cling to a thought which is bad, and you try to reject, then you try to hope for the others. Hope and fear is the tool of ego. Hope and fear is what traps us until now. If there is hope, there is fear. If there is fear, there is hope. It's natural. So therefore, in meditation teaching, it says, whether you're bitten by a black dog or whether you're bitten by a white dog, the injury is same. No difference. However you're chained by rope or by iron is your chain. No difference. So therefore, you need to regard all thoughts in meditation practice equal. Let them arise, but you don't get distracted by them. So we got to start somewhere. You need a reference point. You just can't say, let it be in a natural state. You won't reach there right away. And the reference is breathing meditation. So when you breathe out, you breathe in. Your mind is with the breath. You have to, kind of hold, like your breath is your measurement, so to speak, is your reference. When you breathe out, you're simply breathing out. That's it, nothing to do. You're there, you're focused, you're mindful, you're not. And then when you breathe in, you're there. When you breathe out, you're there. Any thoughts come, they're like a wave, Don't run after, suppress. Just allow them, but don't get distracted by them. So you want to sit and do meditation like that. But then there are again obstacle of meditation, drowsiness and too much excitement. Sometimes too heaviness, you can fall asleep, then again you lose the point of meditation. That's not good at all, drowsiness. It can lead the mind to stupidity in the long run. Mind will become stupid also because you're dealing with the mind. You've got to know how to deal with the mind. Mind is the one which brings clarity, liberation, skillful mean compassion, and the mind is also the one which brings ignorance, aggression, and all the confusion all of us comes from the mind. So if you don't know how to sit properly, like, in our ordinary life, how we get confused, meditation also, if you don't do properly, it can, instead of making clear, it can make you confused. Such a stupid meditation is called. You fall asleep, and then you don't know where you are. It's like, suddenly someone has to wake you. Oh, where have I been? You are, in fact, dealing with the subconscious gossip. Subconscious gossip is called the thief of meditation. It's like not clear. It's something like you're thinking of something of very subtle mind or past, and that is stealing your mind. It's called subconscious gossip. So traditionally, like when you feel, I'm just going to give an example today. So in your own house, you're alone, you can do that. So when you sit, you get drowsy, you get subconscious gossip, you need to cut through that. And how do you cut it? There's a word called pet. So, pet! You cut through. Pet is the word of wisdom and compassion and union, that mantra is. You strike that thought, whichever is hard, you feel trapped. and wake up yourself. That is the mantra. You need to say short and strike and fast. You don't say like, then you will further fall asleep. So you need to say straight and fast and like that. Not all the time. You should not do that all the time, every time you have a thought and a problem. But time to time, you should use that. And then wake up. And eyes opened, but eyes slightly gazing down towards the tip of your nose, and then relax in the space, like that. And sit straight, not like bending, not uptight, but very relaxed, and sit straight. And then with the breath. And remember, mindfulness. Even you're sitting, if you get, a thought will arise. And then you start following the thoughts, then you're totally lost. Then you miss the point of meditation. You should be there. And even sometimes too many thoughts will come. It's called the thoughts like waterfall. So much thought, you wonder, how did I have this much thought? I didn't used to have this many thoughts. Now what happened? It's not that you didn't have a thought. Now you're seeing it more clearly, what's in your mind when you're doing meditation. Then when that happens, there's no need to panic. It's just like, allow that. In fact, you can say, okay, welcome. Have more come more. And if you try to open more, it cannot do anything. It gets startled, so to speak, and it will dissolve. But the moment you again our way to try to suppress, push it away, then the mind will again, react. So therefore, America, why the world, everybody wants to come to America, is the freedom, democracy. People, of course, it's not the perfect, but that's the notion, where you have equality and freedom and rights. In many countries, there's prosecution, and there's religious prosecution, political prosecution, so many things, suppression. And whenever there is a suppression and prosecution, people always have a reaction to rise against it. Revolutions are based on that. Same thing, we also have, we've been learning the instant reaction of revolution, but we never learn how to see the flow of the mind. So in the meditation, you're learning the flow of the mind. And when you have a flow of the mind, then side effect of meditation, first of all, joy, openness, compassion, kindness, and situation. If you can see all thoughts are like a waves, seeing it arising and dissolving, can you imagine how powerful that is? No neurosis. Afflicted emotions are all fighting against. If you can free your thoughts, you're able to free afflictive emotion. If you're able to free afflictive emotion, you become free from suffering. Not only that, but you become infinite creativity in skillful mean and compassion, how you can help others and yourself. So therefore, it's very powerful. Even today, medically, doctors have said that those who have meditation, blood pressure goes down, immune system is built up, tremendous benefit, even from the medical point of view. And needless to say, from a deeper level of your consciousness and spiritual level, how much benefit practice of meditation can be. So, something like that. So let's do a sitting practice now. So, sit comfortably and gaze your eyes slightly downwards towards the tip of your nose and relax. And go and focus to your breathing. Your mind is with the breath. When you breathe out, your mind is there. When you breathe in, your mind is with the breath. And just that. can have some question answer period here.
You talked about a preconceived mind as a closed mind. Can you elaborate more on how to destroy a preconceived mind? Or like how you, I don't know, like if preconceived mind is considered like your ego because we already have our own identities of ourselves. So if you could talk about how to like kind of get rid of that or to make it a better preconception.
Meditation is the main method how to do that, because you're not judging any thoughts in meditation. Preconceived mind is something you feed on to a particular thoughts again and again and again, and that become habituated to the point where we entertain that subconscious level. It's called subconscious gossip. And then it gets kind of like engraved deep inside you. It's basically all thoughts get habituated in that way. So you want to have, to free that, meditation method is the most profound, because you're not judging any thoughts, you're not taking any sides, you're just simply seeing, it's like energy being stuck there. It's become stagnant energy. All thoughts, afflicting emotions, neurosis, they become stagnant energy. And so you don't feel good when those thoughts arises, you don't feel good in your body, you don't feel good in your mind. And it brings a lot of anxiety, depression, and unpleasant experience. So when you sit and meditate, when you begin to realize that all thoughts are like a wave, regard them as wave, you don't have to fight with that. You allow it to come. If there is ocean, there is wave. It's the nature of the ocean, there is wave. And it's nature of the wave, it will dissolve, right? It's the nature of the ocean, there will be wave. And it's the nature of the wave, it will dissolve. It's the nature of the mind to have thoughts. And it's the nature of the mind, how it will also liberate itself. We fill in the gap. Always there is, in fact, in the meditation teaching, it says, at the beginning, you need to recognize the thought like you see a thief. So moment thought arises, you recognize the thoughts. Or here thought arise. Moment you recognize the thoughts, what happened in the past, when your preconceived habits, let's say aggression, or different negative habits, when they come, you go with the flow. So now, the moment they arise, you recognize that. Moment you recognize that, it loses its power. It's like a thief have come, stolen thing from your house. Next time when the thing come, you have like a CCTV, and you can see in your phone, or you see the thief coming. Then no longer the thief can take, disturb or take advantage. Same thing, moment you see the thought arising, it loses its grip on you. Your preconceived mind will lose the grip on you. Then gradually, the stagnant energy will gradually free itself. So therefore, you have to do a lot of sitting practice. You don't develop, how you can release the stagnation right away. Every day you need to do sitting, and every day, not only sitting, you need to take the mindfulness of the awareness of meditation. Like when you get really angry, give it like a shock therapy, so to speak. When you get really angry, you should look at your mind. Then it will free. Or when you get really attached, also you should look at the mind. When you're really happy, you should look at the mind. When you're really depressed, you should look at the mind. Then you begin to learn how to let the flow of the stagnation, and then naturally you gain more confident in your mind how to relate to that. You get free from those preconceived grip on you that mind habits have controlled you for so long. So for example, all the negative thoughts, nobody wants to have a negative thought because it creates pain and suffering. No person with a sane mind would like to have that. But at some point you lost control, so to speak. Therefore, from one of the Bodhisattva teaching, it says, Bodhisattva, he or she, when somebody is angry at them, they feel tremendous compassion to that person. Because that person, he or she, has lost their sense of ability in themselves. They have no control to their afflictive emotion. That brings them suffering which they do not want, but they have no control due to that happens. So you don't feel angry to that. You feel more compassion, in fact, more engagement instead of disengagement. Now, those qualities is inherent in us. Compassion is inherent in us. So, but it's kind of dormant right now due to our negative habits of all kind. So they become less power. Our negative mind has more power. Our positive state seems to have less power. But then again, when you begin to see that, and when you begin to really practice, awareness, mindfulness, not only when sitting meditation, but you're learning how to relax your mind. Even when you are crazy, learn how to relax you. Bring the awareness of meditation when you're crazy. You will see like a fresh air coming in. And you can kind of laugh at your, thoughts at some point, even crazy thoughts, how they can arise, and you can see that dissolving. Then you gain more confidence in your awareness. So gradually, sitting practice is the way. Okay.
Thank you for coming, and best wishes on your travels. My question is more practical. We have a rash of depression and afflictive emotions with our younger children and teens, and that they act out more impulsively and they can do real harm. How do, even though we practice, how else can we help?
Meditation. We cannot help ourselves and others if we have not developed wisdom and compassion. Okay? Therefore, we need to develop wisdom and compassion. Learning about compassion, we need to develop Tonglen practice, taking and sending meditation. Every day you do that, like 5 minutes a day. Take all the suffering of others, starting with your father and mother, because we can't practice that right away with our enemies, but something our mother, who had been through, a lot for us. Then when you start to think like that, then you begin to realize all being are equal in wanting happiness, all being are equal in not wanting suffering. So you begin to gain respect in others. And then what is the cause of that happiness? Is good-heartedness, compassion. And then not only just living compassion, but really look at the common sense of that. What is the cause of our happiness? The interdependent relationship between good heart and happiness. The interdependent relationship between negative mind and suffering. You have to see that. If you don't see that, it still doesn't make sense. You can say, oh, it's a religious thing. It's some kind of philosophy. You see, white seed of a flower will give the white flower. A red seed of the flower will give birth to a red flower. That's a reality. So when you see reality, then you cannot, the cause and effect, the interdependent of the reality, then it's so clear. Then you cannot, you won't leave it on a blind faith state, or this is some kind of, religious thing. It's an actual natural thing. That's how law of nature works that way. For example, when we begin to really see the importance of cause and condition dependence, all our happiness comes from others, from affection of others. If your parents have not raised you, not given their affection and love to you, you wouldn't be sitting here. Because of they're not perfect, they're not enlightened, but their tremendous love and brought up and caring as today you are healthy, you are strong, no matter how much we complain, we're still there. And we're able to hear, use our brain, higher intelligence to look deeper to the point we're able to see afflictive emotion, which is impossible for a dog to see afflictive emotion. They may go through the experience of another dog biting them, but they don't know that's afflictive emotion. They go through the pain of being bitten by another dog, and they may bite back, but they don't know where to stop that. I should now let go. They don't know that. They just feed that causes of the afflictive emotion. So when you know the dependence nature, then you're not going to feed that more, because nobody wants to kill themselves. So then you know the benefit and the danger of ignorance. Removing ignorance is the most important thing, and the danger of not knowing cause and effect, which basically day-to-day life function is based on your cause and effect. Then you don't leave it like saying, oh God, you do that, and blame the devil. If they can do it, what is the nature of God? Nature of God is all-knowing, all-compassion, and all-powerful. They would have done this long time ago. Even they cannot do. Here you are, no matter what you say. So now, who can do it? Your mind can do it. You need to gain the confidence by clearly removing the ignorance. Yes, true afflictive emotion is the, cause of my suffering. And the root cause is ignorance. And that's the notion of clinging, I, self of I. Then, if you really go deeper, how does this I begin to manifest? I is a fatal attraction on a very deeper level. You see, mind has a awareness, play. When you don't see the play as a play, you begin to, first you play, then you get serious, then you become deadly serious. That's where the fatal attraction takes place. That's where the game become like chaos. It's supposed to be a game, so to speak, but now game has become a chaos, and you are stuck there. The fear of survival comes. That's how does ego survive? The fear. Ego survives, but the fear of survival. And who is trying to survive? You can't find that I. Ego doesn't exist. Yet there is this notion, I. We do everything, all the bad things we do because of I. All of afflictive emotion. Why is it called afflictive emotion? Is it something inherent, or is it something deceptive, misconstrued intelligence, deceptive arising? It is deceptive. It's not inherent. But it makes you feel like it's inherent. It makes you think that's who I am. You try to protect something. And then it's a hollow nature. But it has to survive. Otherwise, afflictive emotion cannot survive. If afflictive emotion cannot survive, suffering cannot happen. Then what is happening to us now? Big problem. See, there's something serious problem there. So the trap is a Ignorance doesn't mean it's like you don't know anything. If it's simple as that, it's okay, dip yourself in a cold, icy water. You can go to Alaska, in a cold ice water and get up and you're fresh. That will take care of it. It doesn't do that way. It's a kind of thinking, gives you that deceptive nature, a sense of I. And then from that it builds the whole phenomena, how you see things. There are 7 billion people on this earth. 7 billion people see each and every person differently. Do you think? We think, we all see the same thing. We don't see the same thing. They see differently. At a certain point, how many changes happen in our one life with one individual, our partner, our friends. At one point you like that. Morning you like, afternoon you didn't like, evening you like a little bit better, and then keeps going on, so much changes going on. Now this rest with 6,999 are not seeing that. You are going through on an individual experience based on the change of that play in your mind is happening. Actually, why we call illusion? What is illusion means? Something which is not real, yet it gives the appearance of real. And it's changing. So what happens to us? We are deluded. You know how you become deluded? When you take illusion as real, then that's called delusion. So are we deluded? Yes, to a certain extent. I think all afflictive emotion is delusion. Naturally, we have to agree on that. Afflictive emotion, definitely, it's an illusion, and illusion becomes delusion, and you get stuck. That's called delusion. So now you need to purify that. How do you purify that? The fundamental game, you started to have a nice game, so to speak, a compassionate game. But the compassionate game, at some point, you didn't accept your loss and other person's victory. And then the whole thing began to get trapped, and that sense of survival, fear. What is the nature of fear? In Tibetan, in the Vajrayana Buddhism, there's called Chhoje practice. Chhoje practice is cutting through fear. And one is to go practice this practice in charnel ground, cemetery, at night by yourself, where it's supposed to bring all the fear. You've got to face the fear to the ultimate level. In fact, you call the spirit, you say, come, you're absolutely generous. Come and eat my flesh, suck my blood. You're totally opening up yourself, not holding anything back. And you will see a lot of challenge. You will see all kinds of things. And you will see someone trying to come and suck your blood. And that is the point. Now, either you open up yourself up, or you get further fear and you run away from that. Run away with your ego. Who is running? Your ego is running. Again, this fear is running. And you don't think that. And you think, I've got to protect myself from the devil. In fact, the real devil is the ego inside. That other devil with the horn, whatever, is easy. You can shut the door. Today you can buy $10,000 worth of vault, close your cell. You'll be safe inside. But the devil in our own mind, this ego and this afflictive emotion, is always like a shadow there. Until we don't resolve this on a fundamental level, this ignorance, it will always be there, day and night. During dream time, fear. During wake-up time, fear. Our whole life cycle is going through this fear of survival. What other thinks of me? How others sees me? What this, what that? All the time, this notion of I. This is the real ignorance. Until you don't get rid of that, your suffering will never end. Hope will never end. Fear will never end. The root cause of hope and fear is the clinging, grasping. Therefore, in meditation, you learn how to let go now. You see, slowly you're learning how to free your mind. And then free of the mind means you're gradually freeing you from an outer level, then grows inner level and secret level, where your mind becomes clear and free, become wisdom and compassion, awaken to the primordial awareness. That takes time. You're not going to get there right away. You have to, day after day after day, you have to sit. Day after day, you have to have mindfulness. Day after day, when you're engaging with people, you have to have compassion. Is your compassion working? Or definitely at the beginning, your old habits will rule you. Then slowly, slowly, some change will happen. And that's a big change. That little change is a big thing, because the little change covers the entire aspect of your life. Then you gain confidence to that. Otherwise, you're back to the same thing. And how long you're going to live like this? Question is, really ask yourself. Your entire life you're spending living like this, in a confusion. And tomorrow also same, day after tomorrow also same, then week after months, after year after year, until you die. And at the time of death, you're hoping, someone will take care of you. It says it's too late. When you're dying to pray, it's too late. The real sign, you have to find liberation now. And the liberation and trap is your mind. It's a mind experience. The confusion is the mind. The way of freedom is the mind. Therefore, basic goodness, what is basic goodness? The source of all liberation is in your hand. Liberation is in your hand, in your mind, not outside of your mind. Cycle of confusion is in your mind. Fear is in your mind. Way out is in your mind too. Only mind can deal with the mind problem. Physical cannot deal with the mind problem. Yes, temporarily, you're thirsty, you can quench yourself, but that's just temporary. But mind thing is only mind can deal. Therefore, you need compassion and wisdom. That is the source. Afflicting emotion with ego, fear of ego, you live, ego doesn't say fear. If it's that way, it keeps reminding all the time with the sound coming, you'll be more aware by now. In fact, it's kind of like it gives you the deceptive experience. It's like honey on a razor's edge. That's how ego is. It tastes good sometimes. Then you go and touch your tongue, then it will cut you. That's how ego always, it has one job, and that is always destructive thing at the end. It's never anything positive out of ego. So something like that. So please keep in mind. Okay? Thank you. So let's do a world peace prayer now. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtues, qualities, and merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtues, qualities, and merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtues, qualities, and merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. By this merit, may all beings gain omniscience, thus defeat the neurosis,
negative actions which are the enemies. From the turbulent waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of cyclic existence, may all beings be liberated.
Thank you. Did people know today I'm coming to teach? Looks like today, a lot of people, looks like, So next, please make sure day after tomorrow, on Saturday, I'm doing the Chhoje. So those who are free, 5 o'clock, we will begin the Chhoje practice. Okay? So that'll be my last teaching for the time being. Then I'm going to Asia after that. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Good
Rinpoche.
night. Good night.
So like Rinpoche said, so we'll be doing soak on Saturday. So if everyone can come at 4, we need help setting up. So, huh? So if everyone can come at 4 o'clock, that would be great. And then that'll be Rinpoche's last teaching for this trip. But we're quickly following up. So next weekend, Brendan Kennedy is coming, who's a meditation master and one of Rinpoche's senior students. And so he'll be teaching next Thursday. And then also on Friday night, Saturday all day, and Sunday all day. So come for as much, or if you can only come for one session, then come for one session. And that we'd love to have you. Thank you, Rinpoche.
One more quick announcement before everybody leaves. Seems like Sunday somebody left a bunch of practice materials down in the library. It would be great to know whose those belong to. We don't actually accept personal practice materials because we really don't have anything to do with them. So if you left them, please pick them up, collect them, or let me know and I'll get them back to you. Thanks.